All right, I am here with Dave Kennedy from Fidelity Land Title, and we are going to talk about the pros and cons of leveraging technology in a real estate transaction. Hi, Dave.
Hey, how are you
Good.
doing?
How are you?
I'm doing great.
I feel like leveraging technology on the title side really could it put you guys out of business?
I don't think so. I
They
think
say that
that
about
it's
real
just like
estate
every,
agents.
yeah, what a way to start a chat.
You know,
No, I think that it could potentially put some people out of business if you're not willing to adapt to a changing world. But that's any business. You have to be able to adapt to the, things that are changing
yeah.
and make sure that, you're continuing to add value to a transaction. So I think there'll always be a role for title companies. It's just what that role might look different, just like it looks, the role that I have today looks different than the role that I had 20 years ago when I started. It's it's always
I mean,
changing
I
and
think
you
you're
just have to
making
be
a
ready.
good point. Like with every, like even for real estate agents, but yeah, for title companies too. Like with every change, there also opens up an opportunity, right? So every
Correct.
pro has a con, every con has a pro. So if we're
Hmm.
talking about leveraging technology inside of a real estate transaction,
Hi, Kate.
hi Kate, inside
I
of
am.
the title for a real estate transaction.
Mhm.
Tell us like what that looks like, how you guys are doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's all kinds of things that we're doing that have, are again, leveraging new technology to make the transaction smoother, easier for everybody. And then really importantly too, that I think that people don't take for granted is keeping the transaction safe for everybody involved in the transaction. There's a lot of fraud that goes on in our business. And I think that if you leverage technology properly, you can kind of help everybody along the way. And it's certain things that we do that nobody will even know that we're doing that make the transaction safe as well. And that's everything from protecting our bank accounts, how we're delivering wire instructions, how we're receiving wire
Mhm.
instructions. Funding for the transaction is incredibly important. There's all kinds of safeguards and checks and balance type things that you can use. So that's kind of background stuff that nobody even sees. On the front end, that everybody will see will be, how to deposit earnest money electronically via our
Man, that
website,
is the
or how to,
best. It literally
yeah, yeah,
takes like 5 seconds to deposit earnest money.
yep, yep. It makes it super easy for anyone to be. You could do it right there at the house. If you get your contract accepted, you could shoot the earnest money out. Everybody gets a receipt immediately. There's no longer games of, oh, did everybody receive, the receipt of the money being deposited? And then again, it's secure. They use, really high tech information or,
Encryption.
data
Mhm.
protection stuff to securely transfer the money. And it takes something out of the hands for the agents. They no longer have to collect checks, be responsible for delivering those checks. It's just done right there on your
Yeah.
phone. So that's a big thing that we're using, and it seems like it's really
I mean,
taken
that's a
off.
pro to leveraging technology on collecting earnest money for real estate agents. A con could be,
Yeah.
well, maybe you don't have the money in your account, so
Mhm.
you want it to take a
Yeah.
little bit longer, right?
Yeah, you're putting the people on the spot. Put that money. That's true. It's making everything kind of transparent for everybody right there, right off the
Are
bat.
there other cons? Like it's obviously in the eyes of the seller, it would be good because it literally shows that it's there, right? Like they put the money down.
Yeah.
But are there other cons to
So
leveraging
I
that?
guess the other, like everything else with, anytime that you're, using third party, authenticators, that type of stuff, there is a cost involved
Yeah.
with that. So I guess that could be considered a con. But, a lot of times, is that con, yeah, you pay, but you're getting so much you're getting the convenience of being able to get the money over, not having to wait for a check to clear. You're not even
Right.
having to use a physical check. You're not having to order more. Some people don't even have checkbooks, so that would, keep them
A
from
lot
having to
of
go to
people
the
don't have
bank. And
checkbooks.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then, obviously just the use of technology, you got to be able to, understand how to use your smartphone and everything. So I guess that could be considered a drawback as well.
Well, I think one of the other technology pieces that I want to talk about as it relates to title is, well, two. One is signing electronically.
Yeah.
That is something that I had not experienced before we met you.
Yeah.
So this to you. And it's something that we've been using in real estate, like to e-sign contracts
Yeah.
forever.
I
And then
did.
you transferred it over to the title.
Yeah. So that's what we, right before I got on this call, we just did an e-notarization with a seller, a husband and wife, and they were in Illinois. So in the past, sellers in Illinois would have to, find a way to get their stuff, notarized, whether we were sending a notary to them. Where this is great, where we video called. I was able to explain the documents to them just like they were sitting right in front of me at the closing,
Right.
even though they were in the comfort of their own home.
Right.
And they did it on their smartphone.
Right.
And we signed and notarized their deal, and it took 10 minutes. So it's speeding up the process. It's making it so much easier for everybody involved in the transaction. Sometimes roundtable closings are great. I love doing roundtable closings. I know you don't. But and sometimes there's a time and place where everybody does want to get together. But I also feel like roundtable closings can be a little bit of a stressful environment for everybody. If you're a buyer and you're signing a bunch of loan documents, you get a bunch of strangers in the room listening to your finances.
Right.
I've never really understood that.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to break the closing up, having people sign electronically, it just creates a lot of flexibility for everybody.
Right.
And again, in today's COVID world, you're not having to actually physically get together in a room either. So, we're coming up on cold and flu season, is it just to limit your, face-to-face, in-room contact?
But I also think that, the buyers are moving, the sellers are moving, like everybody's moving. So I don't,
right.
And if you have high D personality clients, they don't want to sit there forever and watch somebody sign something or be watched signing something. So I've done a couple of e-closings with you, and the second time you do it, it's even faster. Literally, it took me 30 seconds to buy this house. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. No, we can really, like you said, when you're familiar with the technology, you can do it in just a matter of minutes. So, we're doing closings kind of all around the world. The Ohio E-Notarization Modernization Act did a great job. As long as people have American US ID and a social security number, they can sign pretty much anywhere. So, we even signed somebody in Scotland the other day. We had to work out the time difference, but we were able to make it work. And, it just really opens up the world.
If you have clients that have to travel a lot or whatever, the e-signing, the con is that if there's a bank on the buyer side, or is it also a bank on the seller side?
Yeah, no. So it's typically the buyer side. The lender sometimes has rules on what they can have signed electronically and not. More and more banks are going the route of being able to e-sign. So they were waiting for the states to pass laws to allow e-notarization, and now they're kind of modernizing their transactions. So, I did a full e-closing the other day with a local bank, and they had all their mortgage, their note, everything was signed electronically.
Nice.
So I think it is the future. And again, that's, where it comes into, how are you able to adapt?
What do you think about running title searches and using technology for that? Because I know, like in some states, they're still manually, like they literally go down to the courthouse and they literally manually go through all the files, which that feels like there could be 1,000 mistakes.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true. And it really is just going to depend on what counties have modernized. So a lot of counties in the bigger cities, their stuff's online. You either get access or you pay for access. And yes, you can do an exam pretty much anywhere. I know that there's certain, vendors even overseas that do title exams. We like to keep a hold of, since we're going to be insuring the transaction, we kind of like to have a little bit more control. But yes, it makes our life easier that we're able to pull documents from, anywhere that we essentially need to be able to pull documents from and get those, get the information that we need to. But there are still certain counties in Ohio where you have to physically send somebody there to go to the county recorder's office and pull documents.
But once everything's online, could you more easily close a transaction in any state?
Yeah, so each state has different regulations on what they require as far as like an insurance standpoint and a business standpoint. Certain states require actual physical brick and mortar. Other states require, certain licensing and that type of stuff. So it really just depends on each
Required.
state. It just really comes down to a state by state basis. So what we do at Fidelity is kind of determine whether what type of business we can generate there, and then if it makes sense for us to be
That's how businesses run,
licensed.
Dave.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think though, what
exactly.
I like about you and what I like about Fidelity Land Title is you guys are of we're of like mind. Just because it's
Mhm.
a way that we've always done it is not enough justification for continuing to do that way if it no longer makes sense. Now, if it makes sense, fine,
Yep.
great. But if it doesn't make
Right.
sense,
Right.
then let's
Right.
leverage technology to come up with something
Mhm.
that is better for everyone.
Yeah. Right. Right. And I think it's just a matter of making that step to trying something new to see maybe if it works better.
Yeah.
And any time that you try something new, you got to work out the
It's like
kinks, and
riding a
I
bike.
think
It was
that's
the
really
first,
important.
at first it was really hard, you know?
Yeah, yeah, work, but again, work with the right people that understand that this is a process, that everybody's trying to work towards a goal of making things easier for everybody, easier and safer for
Right.
everybody. But like I said, work with the right people that acknowledge that and are working towards, again, kind of the same goals.
Exactly. I love it. So where can you close loans if people need title?
Yeah, so we're in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota.
Okay. And if people want to get a hold of you, they have a question or they want to hire you, what's the best way?
Yeah. The best way to reach out to us is via our website, fidelitylandtitle.com.
Easy enough. All right. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for having me.